Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Let me tell you what, March and living on the East Coast, two things that are a little rough because of the entire playing games at midnight. Daylight savings time has also thrown me for a loop. 5 Hour Energy has my back. Whether you're staying up late watching the tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or trying to keep up the day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. With basketball going on, my life is madness. 5 Hour Energy keeps me up. Extra daylight, extra activities. Tropical Burst is my go-to for a quick boost and on-the-go convenience. 5 Hour Energy, easy to grab, keeps me feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Watermelon, blue, raspberry, peach, mango. Even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Shop today, and stay energized with 5 Hour Energy. I think it's time we can have a conversation about Scott Drew, the Baylor Bears, and the trajectory of that program. Not that Drew needs to be fired, but the way that Baylor goes about its business, the way that Baylor has recruited, the way that Scott Drew has formed his last few teams has been, say it with me, bad. Not good. Did you know the Baylor Bears have not made the NCAA Tournament second weekend since they won the national championship in 2021? Now, look, what I want to do is pause here and say I just uttered the words about Baylor basketball since they won the underlying national championship, right? We can't take that away from Scott Drew. We shouldn't take it away from Scott Drew. That team was 1 in a million, impeccable in college basketball and all time. But since then, what have they done? They won a Big 12 championship. It's cool. It's a great banner. I mean, it's awesome. That's an accomplishment, right? I host Locked On Big 12. The flag's behind me. But after that, what have they done in the postseason? What have they done in March Madness? And where I think it all starts, and this affects the entire Big 12, because what's happening right now is, yeah, we have a perennial NCAA tournament team, but are they just Syracuse? Are they Jim Boeheim Syracuse, who was really, really good? And then you're like, oh, yeah, they're in the tournament, but we're not really worried about playing them. Is that where Baylor's gone? And if you're a Baylor fan or a Big 12 fan, you're thinking, do we lose a school that we were once considering a possible blue blood? The only way to be a blue blood is to make consistent Sweet 16s or Final Fours. Houston is doing that right now. Alabama is doing that. Arkansas has made 4 of 5 Sweet 16s, but Baylor has only made 1 Sweet 16 in almost a decade, and it was the year that they won the national championship. Outside of that, what is happening to the Bears? And I think the entire Big 12 can ask the question, have we lost a perennial power in Baylor? And it's a fair question to ask. What I think it starts with, and I'm a guy who went to Baylor, graduated from there, big Baylor fan, watched the game against Duke, frustrating. This entire year was frustrating. I reluctantly was like, yeah, when this team loses, I will get better sleep. This has just been a very hard team to watch. Barely crept to 20 wins this year, struggled through Big 12 play, lost at home to TCU for the 3rd consecutive year. What is going on with Scott Drew's Baylor? And I think it starts with this name, Kendall Brown. I remember where I was hosting Up Tempo, a radio show in Waco, Texas with J.D. Piquel. Known good guy turned bad guy, turned heel, who now loves the SEC, and a lot of Big 12 fans don't like him. I was hosting that show when Kendall Brown committed. He was a blue chip recruit out of Minnesota, and everybody wanted this Sunrise guy who was going to come to Baylor and be revolutionary. Then I remember that same season, this is the year after a national championship, Baylor's a 1 seed, champions of the Big 12, and they're down to like 5 or 6 guys. Jonathan John Mochachua had that egregious, terrible injury, and at this point, you're playing North Carolina, you're down 25. Brady Manick, there's a wild name to pull out of my hat, gets injured. And all of a sudden, I'm there. I mean, it's a Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas. Baylor is back in the game. They can win it. And Kendall Brown was so bad. Scott Drew could not trust Kendall Brown to the point that with 6 players remaining, maybe 5.5 left on this team healthy, Brown rode the bench during overtime of that game against North Carolina. Baylor would go on to lose, despite it being a wild game. James Akinjo steps up. He's that point guard who went to Arizona, then to Baylor. And those names actually have a lot to do with where I'm going here. If you're a fan of Texas Tech, if you're a fan of BYU, if you're a fan of UCF, I hope you write a letter to your local congressman, to your local college basketball coach, and say, please don't build teams the way that Scott Drew has built the last couple Baylor teams. And I think even Scott Drew is taking a look in the mirror and going, uh-oh, this is not a winning formula. Now, Langston Love stayed there for a long time. There are players who are staying at schools for a long time. I hope Dawson Baker is back at BYU next year. He's not an NBA guy, right? You hope that there are guys in the pipeline who become lovable figures for your team, and then eventually they go on to do great things. They play 2 or 3 years for you. But what Scott Drew has done, from James Akinjo to Jeremy Roach, is go find a really good transfer. Let's go find a great guy, Jaden Nunn, a great guy out of the transfer portal who was either awesome at a big school, Arizona or Duke, or great at a smaller school like VCU. We'll go get that guy, Dale Bonner, D2 kid. We will bring him into Baylor, and he'll help lead us, this senior guard. And then, better yet, we'll sign the number 2 player in America, Kendall Brown, Keontae George, VJ Edgecombe. And we'll have that guy on campus for 7 months. That guy's a Baylor Bear for 7 months. And that senior guard that we got out of the transfer portal that's not going to go to the NBA, that guy's a Baylor Bear for 7 months. And then you look around the room and you go, oh, shoot, our entire starting 5 was only here for 7 months. And then if you want to question too, we all know, like, Scott Drew or his family were in Lexington last year considering leaving the Baylor job and going to Kentucky and giving up on Waco and the Bears. And I say giving up lightly, right? It's awesome. You've been here for 20 years, rebuilt the worst program in college basketball. You've done your time. If you leave, tip of the hat to you. But it also shows that Drew is not necessarily, turning down offers all the time everywhere. He's going to, he may turn you down in the end, but he's going to explore it if it's the right offer. We know. Right? Had the Kentucky offer been right, probably would have taken it. Is he tired? Is he trying out a new formula to see if it works? Because the loss to Clemson in the Sweet 16, to go to the Sweet 16 in the round of 32, the loss to North Carolina. Like, Baylor's winning March Madness games in round 1 against Norfolk State. Yeah, Baylor's winning round 1 of March Madness, but they get to round 2 and they're upset by Clemson, or they get boat raced by Duke in a game that's competitive for a bit, and they kind of give you hope. You think Baylor's young, but they were just so overmatched in that game against Cooper Flag. And the reason that Baylor is playing a 1 seed in round 2 is because you positioned yourself there. You positioned yourself there through poor play in the Big 12. And I plead for everyone in this conference, don't build a roster like that. And I believe that Scott Drew, based on some things he said to the media this year, would kind of agree he's going to try to stop building a roster like that. The greatest freshman in America, second, third, whatever, alongside arguably the best transfer senior guard in the country, and then some big who he flips into a powerhouse, Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua, Josh Oceanwuna. Last year, he's had a myriad of these guys who have come in and gone from a big that you didn't think would be very good. Jeremy Sohan can be kind of included in that, though he's a bit of a point guard, kind of a 4, can run the 5, goes everywhere. That style of play is just not going to win in March Madness. It's not going to win for Scott Drew. It hasn't won for Baylor. They built the national championship off of guards who transferred to not go to the NBA, but to go to Baylor to play for a couple of years, then boost their draft stock to the NBA. Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell, then go to the league, then play. While they were in college, they wanted to win. They didn't want to boost their own draft stock. They wanted to win. And this year, it was like Baylor just, I don't know, didn't really want to win. Those kids are only here 7 months. They don't run the line. They don't go to line camp, do they? Don't build your teams like that. Coming up, BYU might be the best story in college basketball right now. Like legitimately might be the best story in college basketball right now. And it's kind of crazy why. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is spectacular because with big games coming up all month long in basketball, I am all over using the Game Time app to get the lowest prices guaranteed on those tickets. With Game Time, the ticket buying process is easy. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd in the biggest moments. That's where Game Time comes in to help with Game Time picks and its curation that makes it easier to find better value for concerts, sports, comedy, theater, and more. Check the Game Time app. Amazing deals today. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a lower price out there. With seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guaranteed. Book with total confidence with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices. That's guaranteed with Game Time.